Okay, so here we are. I went to sleep at probably about 7:30. I couldn't stay awake any longer. I had another coffee at like 7, but it was a rough go of it. I did not feel well. I took the dogs out for a long drive or a long time in the car. Can't say we went very far. Um, and then came back here and it was just so prolific. Hey, mijo. Hi. Oh my goodness. I like the drive, maybe. However, I didn't really like. Um, Hi. I know. One thing about Best Friends Animal Sanctuary is there's lots of dust. I just swept. Uh, I could hear a crazy cockroach up there. I did lock that window after finding dirt on the chair that I didn't put there. It was covered in. Ow. Ow. I know. You like doing the pawing thing. Feel very, very tired. But my body mostly just feels totally worked. Got the fan going, bringing in just air instead of heat. Like, that kills me. A lot of this is that, like, I get blamed for the animals. Like, they're like, well, you're doing this because you're all crazy and all this shit. And it's like, nope. I'm literally just trying to keep them safe. And it's not working at all. That's for sure. Like, I am not able to do that. I'm just not. They're inhaling so much shit, and it's going to kill them and me. And it's funny how, I mean, like right now, my heart is just chest pains, because, I mean, I'm just inhaling that stuff, and I'm sure that's how they feel. I'm sure they have chest pains too. Yeah. Why? I don't know if she came in between 7:30 and 9, and then I sort of woke up every hour, I think, around. But she could have had a good hour. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I gotta take a shower anyways, because I did not take a shower yesterday. But, Vita! What's that, mijo? What's that, mijo? I know. They are so dirty. I really need to give them a bath. Should have given them one when I was staying at the Roadhouse, where they had a free bath available. Anyhow, I don't think they particularly love it here. So I got a call saying that my car might be ready. Probably today or tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. I need to get some Band-Aids with some ointment and put it on these fingers because it doesn't heal, you know. First when they started doing it, my doctor was like, oh, it's this, just use the lotion. And it's like, yep, the lotion doesn't work because they keep making new cuts on my finger and then the skin dies all around it and it really doesn't get better until you put stuff on it to make it better. But, yeah, this is Miho. I woke up with him curled by my side. And Vito on the other side. Tried to keep him warm with the blanket. I'm sure they feel just as horrible as I do. I mean, I drank coffee all night. Not too many cups, though. I mean, let's be real. I mean, you could be like... I'm glad I switched from energy drinks to coffee, because energy drinks don't work. I mean, they stopped working at some point. The coffee does. It's just that, I mean, I don't know. I didn't drink that many cups of coffee. Let's be honest, and it's not that strong because I'm not making really strong cups of coffee. Um, but, nice, sweetheart. But last night was just like every other night. The animal's looking at me like, make this stop. You know, I don't want to breathe this in, and it's just horrible. It's like, it's so crazy how I'm like sitting here or laying here or standing here, and I'm just like, you just don't want to breathe in, but you at the same time, you have to breathe. But your body's just like, no, don't breathe this in, you know? Um, it was like 30 last night was the low, so it was pretty cold. We were driving around at that point. I think I just kept driving back and forth in town, you know? I want to make a comment. You know, that guy that made a comment and said, "Oh, you sound like my sister. She's schizophrenic." And then he said, "Go to the police." And I'm thinking to myself, because something that dawned on me last night is that I've definitely had better luck with sheriff's departments. And I was recommended to that one by this guy, a former Hell's Angel member in Petaluma, who told me he used to do stuff for them or whatever, but then he like didn't, he got out of it or whatever, and like he was never super involved, but anyhow, uh um I thought to myself, it just seems like one of their little setups, you know, of like first, you know, making me defend myself from being called schizophrenic, and then and then telling me to go to the police, which in my experience, most of the time the police have just been super corrupt. And I wonder if like the feds, any of the good ones, if there are any, have come to the conclusion that police departments are just a wash at this point. um, but like, yeah, I had good experiences with the sheriff's department in Troutdale. They let me park in their parking lot, you know. um, I miss those times. Because they would drive around, but Troutdale's small and it was obvious, and the sheriffs, you know, seemed to be aware that something was going on. I mean, you can't help it if I pull in at like 1 in the morning, and then all of a sudden there's like just cars driving around the area, and they're drug addict people or whatever, gang people. So, yeah, I mean, not to say that the guy that was waiting for me at I mean, maybe that's why he said that. The gang member that was waiting for me at my RV in the church parking lot in Vancouver, Washington. And he said, "Oh, my son works for the sheriff's department, and you want me to call him? I'm going to call him right now." I mean, if you're serious. And yeah, I mean, it was weird. I mean, he was such a fucking, like, manipulating piece of shit, you know? I've been watching those videos, the soft white underbelly, and it's like, you want to feel sorry for these people, and people who haven't been victimized by these people to the extent that I have will feel sorry for those people, because look, they grew up, they really had no chance in life. They really didn't, for the most part, and a very, very small percentage of them is going to be able to turn that shit around, you know? They have to have at least someone that gives a fuck, you know? And that's what I've realized. They have to have somebody that is on the straight and narrow, that isn't a drug dealer, that isn't a pimp, that isn't another prostitute, that isn't, you know, a sex trafficker, a drug trafficker. Like, they have to have somebody that's in there that cares, that they trust, and that then can help them to see that they can do something else with their life. But the thing is about those people, and I'm sorry to say this, is that they are raised with no empathy or compassion, and they're just raised as criminals. And yes, it's to survive, and you can say, well, then they need a chance. But the problem is you can't give a chance to somebody who doesn't possess any of those qualities, because it's not like you can just develop those. You know, you have to have something like that in your life already. You have to care. You have to give a fuck. And some of those people still do, and they're the ones that just continue to be victimized and are drug addicts. But majority of them will become criminals, robbing people to support their habit, and just in general not care about society and about other people. And because no one's really cared about them, and everyone they've come across has treated them like shit. Um, and so there's no basis to work from. There's no beginning. Here, Vita, come. Vita, Vita, come. Vita, Vita, come. Come, come, come. There you are. There she is. There's the baby girl. There's the baby girl. I'm so worried about her. I'm so worried about her. But yeah, and the sad part is really, and like I've said, if you don't go after, the people that have been victimized, and that means like when they're kids most of the time, and if you just, like, we need to make so many drastic changes that people will just be too uncomfortable to make, which is, if someone's a drug addict and, possesses no empathy or whatever, I mean, you really, to have a kid, you should have to be qualified. You should have to have a desire to actually raise a decent human being. You have to be able to have those skills. And I mean, I didn't have a kid, and I could have raised probably a decent kid. I don't know, depending on when I had a kid. If I had one while I was still being sexually assaulted myself, probably not, because I wouldn't have understood what the fuck was going on, I mean, move all this stuff because it's getting in the way. Yeah. I wouldn't have had the ability to understand, like what I was going through, and maybe I would have come to terms with it, and maybe I would have not, I would have been able to deal with it before it fucked up my kid or whatever. But even me, which had financial means, but no emotional or, really any support within my family, it's just, and it's not, and that's not socioeconomic. That's to the point of that too, is that it's not a socioeconomic thing that you would only not have rich people only not have poor people have kids, because there are plenty of rich people that are raised the same way, of just no empathy, no, anything, like, there's just that too. It's so, I mean, and a lot of people have made comments like this in the past, over time, of like, we need to make sure that people have, you have to have a driver's license to drive a car, but you don't need shit to have a kid, and really the importance of that is so not talked about enough, because not only might you raise a child, like, you might do a poor job and they come out shitty, but then that shitty person will go on in society to do shitty stuff to other people, and they will become criminals, and they will become sex offenders and drug traffickers and sex traffickers and pimps, and just that's who they become. And again, like, that's not actually determined, or they just become vile human beings that don't give a fuck about anybody else. And if they have money and power, it could be even worse, because they have even more ability to, maybe those are the people that become CEOs. I don't know. But I just think we need to get a lot more harsh with society, because you look at those videos and that's an enormous amount of human suffering, not only on the part of the people, that these kids that are now, teenagers or adults, and are just, kind of a waste of life, like, and just are not going to ever figure it out. And because they're never going to have anyone that, there's too many of them. There's too many people like that. There's not enough people out there that actually give a shit, and that they'll actually trust. I mean, has to be somebody that they trust, because at that point they're already so damaged, and they don't trust anybody, and they've been hurt so many times and abused so many times. And it's okay, you can play with Vita. And anyhow, we need to make more. I mean, I know it sounds like so communist, and I mean, to be honest, growing up, when I was in college, there was the Communist Party in Hawaii, and they were heavily monitored by the feds, and they were a very small group of people. And most of them, I mean, it's more Marxist thinking. It's more, wow, I got two heavy dogs on me. It is, communism in theory is not a bad concept. It's, no one should have a ton of money. Everyone should be more equal. And, that would, in theory, make a better society, really, than to have capitalism, which, you can get as much money as you want, but then other people will be super poor. And what ends up happening is that, you have a big, huge gap like we do. But as we see, communism hasn't worked out well. And I mean, the bottom line of it, the end of it, is that the problem with any system, whether it's capitalism, communism, it's who's in charge. And the people who want to have power over other people, who have that desire in life to become a president, to become a mayor, to become a congressperson, who wants to have the ability to make decisions that affect other people's lives and want that and enjoy that, are usually not good people. Most good people don't want to have power and control over other people. They just don't. They want to have it for themselves. They want to figure out their own shit, but they don't, want to wield power over others. So, yeah, you get her. You get her. You get her. So, it's a very complicated issue, but I think that, in time, I think that these masses of drug users that we're seeing in every town I'm going through, where people are like, oh my God, we have so many drugs, like they think their town's different. But the reality is their town is the same. Every town I've been to, their drug addiction is a huge problem. And the drugs, I think, that are being developed in Mexico, and in, China, I think it is, they are drugs that I think, you're giving those people that are taking those drugs are already super fucked up and have no ability yet to feel, empathy or whatever for other people. And then you give them drugs that just fuck their head up, like permanently probably alter their chemistry, and just, it's just awful. It's just, I think the drugs themselves, the change in what they're using, that fentanyl or whatever it is, and that is actually making a big difference on who's being created and what they are and what they're capable of doing to other people. So, anyhow, that's my thoughts on things this morning. I don't know if she got to me. My right arm is just so fucked up. Like, she permanently fucking damaged that arm. Like, and the wrist that she went after 2 nights ago is just, it's just fucked. And my hands are all fucked up, and that pinky, and there's swelling, and there's that, see that mark she left on my finger there? She fucked with this finger. My middle finger. But yeah, I think the future is going to be rough for humankind. I think it's going to be very, very rough. I think it's going to dawn on people that, which is something I've come to a conclusion of going through this, is that we long ago should have recognized that if you do not actively every day, every week, to start with, like literally every week, don't participate in some level to try to make your community a better place, then things will get bad. And the individualism of the United States, and that has spread throughout the world, that westernization is based in that individuality. And there's great things to being individuals, and good things come of it, in some ways. But you got to keep it in check. Everybody's got to participate. Everybody's got to help the greater good, or else literally there is no greater good's going to exist. So, if you don't actively do something about it, you actively have to always be trying to make the world a better place for it to be a better place. And I think we're going further and further away from that. And I see the future for human race as very, very dim. Especially when I'm dealing with this stuff and nobody wants to believe what I'm saying. And I'm thinking to myself, you have no idea what's going to happen. Like, you have no idea. And that's, again, what's so shocking to me with the feds of not wanting to, not wanting to participate in this or help because, did you get him? Did you get him, Bee? She doesn't even look anymore like herself. It's crazy. Like, the look on her face is just, I don't ever see what I used to see. And it's so heartbreaking. Oh, Miho sees something. But, they hear something. Something is going on. Yeah. 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 I see really bad stuff happening. Like, what's happening to me, it's not gonna just happen to me. Are you crazy? And there's just no way that I'm the first person, like, when I keep being told flat out by people, you've been targeted. It's like, they don't know my situation. They don't know, you know what I mean? Like, they don't, you know? Yeah. But it's people like that lady in Los Angeles who dated a Hell's Angel and was a drug addict, and now she's a counselor that gets paid a shit ton of fucking money to do nothing. Scam. Total fucking scam. I tell you, drug addicts, they can stop using drugs, but they're still scammers. And that's at the end of the day, they just don't really, they think, you know, they can just take from people. And, you know, what those girls were doing was robbery. And I'm guessing that's not something that was uncommon when they were drug addicts. So, and they've just continued that, and now they have this belief. Oh yeah, and drugs being a disease, human race could be a disease, but drugs are not the disease. Drugs are a choice. And every drug that these people are taking, they can stop taking. They can't. They choose not to. And it's just like the homeless populations that are a lot of the time on drugs, they're choosing this. And it's time for society to say, no more. You don't get to choose to live in the park. You know, you don't get to proliferate and take over the park so that everybody else who pays for the maintenance of the park can't even use the park. You know, I had this one instance where I was in, you know, at my place in Studio City, and there was a park there, and you know, I'd gotten to know all the people, and we were all hanging out. Not all, I mean, in the back where the big dogs were, and I was there with Vita, and there were, you know, 5 or 6 other dog owners and dogs hanging out there, and there was these bushes along the edges that nobody really ventured into because there was human poop and needles and condoms and disgusting shit and drugs and all this shit. And this girl emerged from there, and she was covered in what looked like blood. And she just started walking towards us like a zombie. And everybody else just literally just moved out of her way and didn't even say anything. And she did it to me, and Vita got, you know, who was off leash. I put her on leash because Vita was not stoked on her. And not stoked on her walking towards me and us and everybody there. And I was like, do you need help? Are you okay? Like, what happened? Like, I got really concerned because she was like blood everywhere. And I was like, holy shit. And she wouldn't say anything. And finally I said, look, do you want me to call the cops? Like, do you need help or something? And she nodded. So I was like, okay, I'm going to call the cops for you. Okay. I don't know what happened. So just stay here. They'll come, they'll help you, whatever. I called them repeatedly. And as soon as I, like, literally almost as soon as I called the cops, this other girl comes running out of the bushes. And she's like, that's my friend. She's fine. What are you doing? And the girl didn't seem, the one covered in apparently blood, didn't seem to want her near her. So I was like, okay, whoa, back off. I don't know what is going on here, but, you know, let's just let the cops come. You guys can figure out your shit. I don't know what happened. I'm not going to say whatever. And she's like, she's fine. Da, da, da. She's my girlfriend. And I'm like, and she's like, you know, she's from a rich family. She's just having a hard time. And I was just like, I don't know. And then the girl covered in what looked like blood, went and got into the vehicle of a homeless man who lived in his vehicle, who I knew from around there, not very well, hadn't had many conversations with him. And she just got in his vehicle, and he was like, whoa, what's going on? But at the same time, he was like, it was weird. He was kind of like, whatever. And I'm like, this is all going really wrong. And I kept calling, and the cops were being dicks. And um, right before they showed up, because the girl kept trying to come, the girl that had been following her kept trying to get into the vehicle, and I was like standing there going, just get, just space, just, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And then I was like, look, she's like covered in blood. I don't know what the fuck's happening. I don't know if you did that to her. I don't know what's, she doesn't seem to want to be around you. And she's like, that's not blood, it's jelly. And it was. And the cops showed up, and right about the time that I was told that this shit was just jelly. Anyhow, I end up having this conversation with the other girl, the one not covered in jelly, who was obviously having some mental moment. And she's like, this is our park too, you have to, you can't just say we can't be here. And I was like, first of all, dude, I'm not even saying that right now. You know what I mean? But I don't like that mentality of like, it's our park. Okay, fine. It's your park too. That's the same thing as having that woman who was at the Capitol and yelling, this is our house. And it's like, this is my house, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but then you're forgetting that it's everybody else's. And all those people in the park are forgetting that it's everybody's park then. So then you can't go around and take shits in bushes, especially when there's bathrooms. You can't go around and, they're closed at night usually, but, you can't go around and, like, trash shit then. Because it is our everything. But what I've learned about these people is their mentality is just fucked. And to change that, it's having empathy. It's caring about other people. And it's seeing yourself as part of something rather than that it's yours or theirs or mine or yours. It's just, and to teach that, I don't know if you can. I really don't. I think you have to have something inside of you that feels that way. And you can foster that and grow that, or you can destroy that. But you have to have the capability of feeling that. You have to have the capability of feeling other people's pain and suffering. To understand that your pain and suffering isn't the most important thing. And I do not see, like, when I watch those white underbelly videos, I do not see that. I just don't. I don't see people who have that capability. And it's sad. They weren't given, it's all true. They were raised by people who didn't have that. They were raised by people who hurt them and did horrible things to them. So they never got a chance to have any of those emotions and feelings, because having those emotions and feelings is dangerous. That's how fucked up my wrist is. And my fingers. It's like shaking because I can't even hold the phone. So, what do you do with people like that? Can't help them. Can't make them better. Can't make them functional. Can't make them feel things that they don't know anything about. You can't make people into things that they're not. And it's sad that they weren't given those opportunities, but we need to start addressing that problem by somehow not allowing those kind of people to have children. And see, that's very communist, and that's taking away people's rights. No, it's saving other people. It's like how we spend so much time helping criminals in prison, like Kim Kardashian. By the way, fuck you. You've done so much damage with you and your family to our society in general, and you've made money off of it. It just is the epitome of fucking evil. But, people like her that are like, oh, I'm going to get these people out of prison. It's like, why don't you concentrate on their victims? Why don't you give their victims help? Because that's where our resources should be going. Because if you want to prevent future criminality, then help victims. Because all those criminals were once victims. But they've chosen to be criminals. They made choices. And it's done. That's how our society should be. You make those kind of choices, you don't get a second fucking chance. Especially people who murder people, who do this or that. You want to help a woman who fought back to abusive husband and ended up killing her, fine. Killing him, fine. But you want to help, like, a drug dealer, whatever? No. And that's my other note on Snoop Dogg. I fucking hate that dude. super talented, super good looking, you know, super was into his shit when I was young and everything. He's a fucking gang member, which means he participates, makes money off of, in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just claiming the affiliation of people who rape children for money, who rape women for money, who deal drugs and kill people. Let's stop fucking promoting and forgetting who people really are. He really is that. And as an adult, I look at that now and think, what the fuck? Like, how are we all like, oh yay, Snoop Dogg? It's like, stop. Stop glorifying shit that destroys our communities, that destroys our societies. We have to actually give a fuck and be proactive. Like Michael Jackson. Loved Michael Jackson when I was young. Oh my god, but yes, there always seemed to be something wrong with him, you know? But still loved him. But the moment that kids came out and said it, I mean, come on. How can you how can you not believe that? His whole fucking house was a pedophilia house. You know, it was set up to groom children. There's no, I was a lost child, I never had my childhood. No, you're a fucking perpetrator. Literally, you've probably perpetrated against hundreds of kids. In those instances, we just gotta say, wow, super talented, but nope. You wanna make music? You can do it from prison. That's the way it should be. Long. What's out there, mijo? What do you see? Who's out there?